and welcome to Concert Pipeline. That's Jens Schippel.
And that's Steve Jones.
And Jens, this is it. This is the end of 2020. We have, I think, made it as of the time of this recording. It seems pretty likely that we'll make it through the year.
Yep. We're all still alive. We had some things on the calendar that haven't happened yet for 2020. These things include murder hornets. That happened, but they didn't really live up to their name. I was expecting, some serious fatalities, but no. Meteor, the asteroid or meteor or whatever hasn't really happened yet. Maybe that'll be like a, last day of the year type thing, grand finale. Or the aliens, they were predicted to show up this year. Hasn't happened. So I don't know, maybe they're holding out for a sequel. Maybe 2021 is going to be, a sequel with even more exciting things coming our way.
I mean, one can only hope, right? This is really a test of our endurance and our ability to survive as a species. So
right.
We'll see if we live up to the promise.
Exactly. But hopefully, once all of this stuff is just gone, I just hope that people will be happy if they find themselves with nothing to do and they're just bored at home or something. That's a huge plus in comparison to all the crap that one has to deal with.
Appreciate the smaller things in life, for sure. So
right.
So today on the program, Jens, we have a band called Charming Liars. So this is one, took a little coordinating to get to happen, but I got a chance to talk to the lead singer, Killian McGuire. And it was a good chat. Funnily enough, during the interview, the power went off.
You said funnily.
Funnily, is that a word?
Is that a word?
Yet? Is it? I don't know.
That's fun, like really fun, or is that like a hybrid word?
Is funnily a word? It is a word. It's an adverb in a strange or amusing way.
Funnily.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yes.
All right. Funnily. There we go. Funnily. Yeah.
Learning words that exist. So yes. So the power went out. And so I was recording on the iPad, and so I had to switch over to personal hotspot at a point. So you might hear a couple of those glitches. I'll cut out as much of it as I can, but the interview should have survived. So I think we're okay.
Cool. Yeah, it's good to be resourceful. Not everybody has a hotspot available on their phone or on their plan, but in situations like this, Steve, one thing I admire about you is that you don't like freak out and forget what all your options are. It's like you somehow remember what all your options are in times of, a crisis.
I mean, you do what you can, because at first you're like, okay, is the interview gone? Like, is he going to be able to join back into the Zoom session? And am I going to be able to connect back? But then you're like, okay, take a second. Okay, just reconnect. And, and I was able to pick up without missing, too much time. He barely noticed I was gone. So,
that's cool too. I mean, we've had a lot of situations, with the fires and stuff, with electricity going out. And then of course, a hotspot is an option maybe for a while, but once everybody, figures out, oh, hey, I can connect to the internet through a hotspot, boom, the cell signals are just full.
Yeah.
So you're lucky enough to connect or even to, get any sort of real bandwidth out of it.
Yeah. Well, so that's that. We just had Christmas, and it was, quarantine Christmas. Just I had the kids for the first half of the day, and then they went off to their moms, and I relaxed for the rest of the day. It was a lot more relaxing than I'm used to for Christmases where family's involved and all of that.
Well, that's not a bad thing, right?
No, it's not too bad. Not too bad. So
nothing wrong with having a relaxing Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. So the Christmas Eve, my daughter's big gift was I got her a new bicycle.
What happened to the old one?
She's getting too big for it. It's a little girl's bike. This is more of a, big girl's bike that should last
Mm-hmm.
her until she's done riding it, when she
Mm.
switches over to driving a car, right? So
Right.
she needs to take care of it too. It's a nice bike.
Mm-hmm.
So gave her that, and then we went over to the park and rode bikes around, met up with Joe, his wife, and his son, and for the third time since quarantine, of course, everybody was masked and distanced and everything as much as
you sent me a photo of that. That was really cool. So it was you guys in the foreground with a selfie, right?
Yeah.
And then he was, with his family off in the distance in the field, where the photo was taken. It's like, oh, I think that's a magnifying glass.
I mean, they backed up more, and I'm like, you're like 20 feet away. I'm like, you want to be in this picture? It's yeah, it's funny, but it was good for the kids to get together in a safe and distanced way outdoors. So, but not something we do too often.
Right.
Yeah. How was your Christmas?
It was good. It was also kind of the same, it was similar. It was mellow. It was pretty low key. The in-laws came over on like around lunchtime on the 25th. It was raining pretty much off and on all day long. So I did some grilling out in the rain, which was fine. I actually do have a rain jacket, and it's the first time I've used it. Yeah, did buy it this year. More is like a windbreaker type thing. But then I remembered, oh my God, okay, it's raining. I actually have a windbreaker type jacket thing. Why don't I see if it works? And it was like perfect, and the burgers turned out great. They weren't really burgers. They were like bacon wrapped steak things. Oh my God, dude, delicious.
Yeah.
I recommend everybody try those if you haven't already, but I'm sure they're not all that healthy, but definitely worth trying out.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, so we did that, and then we did some karaoke. We bought some microphones, hooked them up to the system, and just YouTubed a bunch of songs on the TV and did the karaoke thing, masked, of course, and socially distanced. So we were both on opposite sides of the TV room, probably like good 8 feet away or so from each other. We made sure not to swap mics, so we each had our dedicated couples mic.
Good, being safe.
Took some fun video, and I want to say, I'm probably one of the world's worst singers, but I felt like I did a pretty good job doing the cover of. What was it, man? Oh, I told you what it was. See, that's how brilliant I am. I can't even remember, like,
you don't even
what was that song I covered? I don't know, but I have it videotaped. I haven't videoed. I just said videotape. Like, who has a videotape?
You got out the video camera.
I filmed it with a phone, and I did. I think there were 2 songs that were really good. Sound of Silence. I did the Sound of Silence, not the version that Simon and Garfunkel did. The version that, dude, have you heard this? It's so awesome.
Yeah,
it is so freaking awesome. It's by Disturbed.
Yeah, I think so.
It's haunting.
So. Okay.
Yeah. So I tried to sing that version of it. Oh, dude, it's pretty good. But I think I might start practicing, doing some more karaoke. Try to be a little less embarrassing in social situations. I think that's my goal for 2021.
Yeah. Well, I remember. So when quarantine started, you had a Zoom party where it was a karaoke thing. I think it was actually our friend Tony did it, right?
I think he hosted it. Yeah, and there were a ton of people there. And that was the first time I think most people ever used Zoom. I think most people didn't know what it was.
That was pretty painful. That was just pretty painful.
That was painful. Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Luckily, I had an out to get the kids to bed, but especially when one of his friends was cursing up a storm, I'm like, okay, gotta go,
Yeah, too funny.
Yeah, but so I did some karaoke.
Did some karaoke, and that was kind of that. We wanted to take out, we wanted to go for a nice Christmas walk and stuff, but the weather didn't allow for that. but
Yeah.
it was fine. They were here for a real long time. Yeah, it's good.
Excellent. I like it. I mean, I think it's a good way to go, right? We had a good soft Christmas. We know this isn't over yet, but we'll go into 2021 with hope and promise towards a new, a new change, and
Yeah.
and that it can't get any fucking worse than this
Right.
year was, right? So
Yep. So let's just hope for no more new. I'm not talking about new strains of COVIDs, but let's just hope there won't be any like new COVIDs. There won't be like a COVID 20 or 21 coming our direction. Let's hope there's no World War III, or any of that stuff.
It's a good hope. So, with that being said, I think we should bring in our guest.
Let's do that.
Yeah. So again, this is Killian McGuire, the vocalist for Charming Liars, and here's our chat.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve, how you doing, man? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. How's it going, Killian?
It's good. It's good. Just getting in the holiday spirit, having a good time. Trying to imagine it's cold outside in Southern California.
Just snow blanketing the 405, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Are you in LA as well, man?
No, I'm up north in Napa, actually.
Oh, okay, so you actually do get some cold weather. Okay.
We don't get snow though either, so.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. But, well, right now it's like 78, so it's like, oh, this is. I watched like Christmas Vacation last night. I was feeling all good, and then I woke up and it was like blistering heat this morning. I was like, oh, this is it, I guess.
I watched last weekend with my kids, so it's making the Christmas movie rounds. I think we've rented or bought a bunch of them. I mean,
right. There's always I hope that there's a Christmas movie top 5 in this questionnaire.
Oh, okay.
Totally do one.
I mean, we'll start there. What is your top 5 Christmas movies? It sounds like you're prepared. So
okay, yeah. No, because I've had this conversation with friends of mine lately. Okay, definitely Christmas Vacation.
Yeah.
Home Alone.
Okay. Wait, is this in ascending or descending order?
I would say Christmas Vacation is number 1, and then from there they're interchangeable. So Christmas Vacation, got Home Alone, and then
I'll stop you on Home Alone real quick. I went to the Home Alone house last year, actually. Yes, I was with my girlfriend in Wisconsin, and she didn't know that she grew up an hour away from the Home Alone house. They didn't have the internet, and everything. So. Yeah, and so we went to some of the spots where they shot around there and everything.
That's
like
awesome.
Store. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a cool documentary on the holiday movies that made us on Netflix right now, and they do one on Home Alone, and it was really interesting to see how they filmed that.
Yeah, I know, that was really cool for sure. So I cut you off. We got 1 and 2.
Oh no, you're all good. Okay, then I would have to say probably Scrooged.
Okay,
with
Bill Murray.
Bill Murray, classic. Then I would get 3. So then I'd probably say Christmas Story, I think, is definitely got to make the list. And I know I'm probably forgetting one that I'm absolutely crazy about. So I'm going to go ahead and tie it all off with dude, I know I'm forgetting one.
Are you a fan of the A Christmas Carol at all?
Yeah, did I not mention that one?
You went Christmas Story.
Oh, Christmas Story. What I watched for the first time was the Muppets Christmas Carol.
Okay, how is that? I don't know if I made it all the way through that.
It was. I'll tell you, it was actually pretty good. I was surprised. I wasn't going into it expecting very much. I didn't really watch a lot of Muppets growing up. I missed the train on that one, but it was actually just pretty cool. And Michael Caine is just like so good in it. And his co-stars are Muppets, and it's worth a watch.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we'll have to add that to the list, though. So
yeah, it's a tearjerker, though. Be ready for that.
Okay. I'll have the tissues nearby,
as they usually are. Okay, I guess I'll put number 5. It's probably Elf.
Okay, that's solid. Yeah, that's the one list. That's the one we bought. And my son wanted to watch Polar Express also, but I mean that one didn't. I don't know. Yeah. He liked it, I guess, but it was okay. It wasn't definitely in the top 5 anywhere, but
it's I'm sure it's in someone's top 5 somewhere. Maybe if they're crazy about trains. But
do you or do you not fit Die Hard into a Christmas movie?
Yeah, no, it takes place on Christmas. Is it Christmas Eve or on Christmas? It's Christmas Eve,
right there. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely counts. It
Okay.
counts.
Okay. Good.
For sure.
Okay. Good. Fair.
Not my
Yeah.
favorite Christmas movie, but it
No,
counts.
that
Yeah.
works. So what do you have planned? What does Christmas look like for you?
Christmas for me, it's just like for everybody else, it's super it's just super dialed back than what it usually is with lots of family and stuff like that. Um, but just been watching all the movies and trying to get into the Christmas spirit, but it's been a weird year for in a lot of different ways. So it's just I think when we get closer to it, I know we're only 3 days away, but maybe on Christmas Eve, my icy heart will melt and grow 5 sizes bigger. We'll see. But yeah, that's where I'm at in terms of Christmas right now.
That's fair. That works. Okay. And I mean, tell me, I mean, we can go back. Like, I know you were touring when everything shut down, right? Like, what does this year look like for you? I mean, do you feel you've
Yeah,
kind of been able to keep productive?
yeah, we've been able to keep the momentum going. As far as like release, we were very fortunate that before everything locked down, we had already planned on releasing one song a month. So we'd recorded this big, about 12 songs, 13 songs, and we were already on track 2 when the lockdown happened. So we just kind of kept going in that route. But we're very much a live band. It's kind of our bread and butter. So we had a really big year planned for 2020, and it just obviously for everybody, it just kind of ceased to exist for a little bit. It was weird too, because I was just thinking about like when I got home, I think it was like March, and it's like, that's not very far away. March 2021 is just around the corner. It's like, I've been in lockdown for a year. It's been weird. But I luckily we can do songwriting and things like that. So I've been able to keep productive in that respect. Yeah.
And so you guys are in the Czech Republic, I believe, right? And like the walls are shutting, the borders are shutting and everything. Like, were you fearful at all you weren't going to be able to get home? Like,
Yeah, I mean, definitely that thought was there. We were basically we were on our way to, I think, Budapest, and we had just got done eating at a restaurant. And as we were leaving, we got a call from the tour manager of the band that we were on tour with, and he goes, "Hey, Budapest is gone. Might as well just okay." So Prague's the show after that, so we'll just drive towards Prague. Get a call, "Hey, Prague's gone too. So you guys just might want to think about going home, like getting a flight." So and all the flights around that time, the prices were through the roof because when they so we start driving towards Budapest or towards Prague, and then they're like, we're closing our borders in like tomorrow, and then we see on the news that the US is closing their borders, and we thought we had a few days to get home, but it turned out to be like, okay, we need to get home like now. So we had to kind of split up because certain members, they had to get into other places, and so we kind of like, yeah, it was crazy. It's kind of like in Home Alone when the mom gets on the on with John Candy.
John Candy,
it was very much like that with the Shinoka kickers. Yeah. We were sitting in the car like thinking, we got to get home, and it was crazy though, because there was guys in hazmat suits and military blockades. It's very much like Home Alone meets 28 Days Later, kind of like if they were to make a baby, that was kind of what that experience was like. And yeah, it was crazy. And when we got home, we actually got home the first day that they implemented the CDC implemented their quarantine checkpoints and everything, and that was just so it took us like 9 hours to get through the airport after a 16-hour flight. So it was just like, what a day, man. Yeah, it was crazy. Just glad to be home.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long time, but at least you were able to make it, right? And I've talked to a lot of bands who are kind of in similar situations and barely, made it home, or were stuck for a while and had to take connecting flights to different countries to get to, to get them home and everything. And it's been a crazy, crazy
one
time.
For the books, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go back to when you were a kid. Tell me, what music did you listen to? What were your parents playing around the house?
So I was really my music taste as a kid very eclectic because I spent a lot of time with my grandparents and an equal amount of times with my parents. So obviously they're like literally 20 years apart. So their, you know, music is very different. So, you know, at my mom and dad's, you know, they were very into like, you know, Iron Maiden and bands like, you know, the 80s metal giants and things like that. And then, you know, also like rock band, like my mom was like totally a 80s goth chick when it's so like she was into like all these weird, you know, bands that I honestly still like. I'm like, I have records of like there's bands like called like Alien Sex Fiend and just like this weird weird
Your
shit.
mom was into that? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I'm just like, what is this? You know, and like just weird stuff. And then and my grandparents on the other side of town, you know, I'm half Mexican and they're the Mexican side. So they were always listening to like, you know, a lot of classical Mexican ballads or mariachi, or my grandfather's obsessed with classical music. So I got into a lot of that and like Frank Sinatra and stuff. So you had Alien Sex Fiend and Frank Sinatra. And so, yeah, it was kind of a weird upbringing, but it was great because, you know, I appreciate all types of music.
Yeah, I mean, that would make a diverse
Yeah.
palette for sure, right? So
Yeah.
yeah. And so when did you pick up the guitar? Like what was that process like for you?
Yeah, for me, I always wanted to play, and I always knew I wanted to write music because as a young kid, I was always kind of making up little beats and sounds in my head, and I couldn't obviously record it. And I remember finding like like an old acoustic guitar in my grandparents' garage, and it had like 2 strings, and I remember plucking away trying to learn how to like write something, and my mom was like, because I had been bugging her forever, she's like, okay, fine, you're taking this seriously, we'll just get you a guitar. And so I picked it up and started writing and playing when I was maybe about 14. But it's the gateway instrument, you know, because a lot of people I know, they start on guitar, then they go to bass or sing. For me, it went to more singing. I was into like more hard rock, and there was a high school band that were auditioning singers, and I thought they were so cool. And my goal was to join as a singer, kick out the guitar player. I'd be the guitar player, we get another singer. They were way better than me at guitar, so that was never going to happen. So I joined as a singer, and I just stuck with it, and it's kind of how it all fell into place.
Yeah, and you were in other bands as well, right? Like, I mean, what did you learn from those experiences with bands before Charming Liars? Like,
yeah, I was in bands. I've been in bands since like I was about 15, and there's maybe been about 4 serious projects. But I think what I learned is that, you know, the most important thing is the chemistry between songwriting. For me, that's it. You know, if I get in a room with somebody and they're an excellent player, but we just don't mesh when it comes to songwriting, there's no point. You know, it's like we're just gonna get on each other's nerves. You know, I know it and they know it. You know, and I think with me and in my past successful projects, when I've written with the other key songwriters and it's been magic, then that's always been something I try and not duplicate, but I'm always looking out for, you know? So that's kind of been the main thing that I've learned being in bands all this time, is never to compromise on the songwriting.
Yeah, and that was kind of, you were paired up with Carnegie and Mike, right? I mean, they came from England to LA, and then it was kind of, you were matched up. It's like a blind date or something.
Kind of, yeah. We had never really met before, and then, you know, got into the studio with you know, Carnegie, because he does all the production and he produces all of our music as well. And you know, we were like, okay, well, let's try and write something, and we wrote a song called Out of My Head, and it was like, all right, cool, well, we can do this then. And then I just kept showing up, and we just kept writing more and more music. So that's kind of how that happened. Yeah, it was very much like a blind date. Yeah, it's very true.
So what did your first tour look like? I mean, did you start out small? Were you paired up with other bands?
Yeah, I mean, we did a lot of you know, a lot of local shows, and then we did a few, you know, out of state shows. And then the first big one that I did with them was with a band called Black Audio, with 2 members from AFI. It's like their
David
their
Havoc
other project. And what's his name? Is it Jade?
Jade?
Dickinson Jade, right? Yeah, nice
okay,
guys,
yeah.
and it was a really fun show, and we actually went on to, the other band was called Night Riots, and we actually were able to play some other shows with them, and super cool guys, and that was kind of like the beginning of my like more professional touring. I mean, I had done like one-offs or like, 3-show gigs in Mexico and things like that, but never like okay, we're on the road for like 2 months, like, you got to be good every night, have fun with that. And it's just like, yeah, that part of it was interesting, because I also, I do the merch and everything too, so it was like learning how to, juggle all of these different parts. But yeah, that was kind of the first big one though.
Yeah. And did the tour go pretty smooth? Did you run into any issues like that?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, I remember there was like, for us, it was pretty uneventful, but for the other band, their van had broken down, and we drove back and were able to get their gear. But I remember for them, it was quite a hectic tour, and they were always so tired because they had to get the van fixed and then drive. Like, but for me, for us, it was pretty. It was. I mean, touring's never easy, but it definitely, our van didn't break down, so that always makes things a little better.
Yeah. So you had mentioned your grandparents before. You've said your grandmother's your biggest fan. Tell me kind of about her support and what, how that's driven you.
Yeah. So, growing up, like, my grandparents were always very, very encouraging when it came to music. My grandfather's dad was in he was in a mariachi like quartet. And so, my grandfather always grew up around music, and he loved to play guitar and things like that. So for him, when he saw me, and for my grandmother, when they saw me show an interest in music, they were automatically like, yes, you should do that. You should do that. And they were, because I was never really into sports or anything like that. So when they saw me have an interest in that, they were very supportive, and still to this day, they're always asking and just following up with what I'm doing. And I see them, or at least before the pandemic, I was seeing them quite regularly. So, but their support means everything to me, like it's just one of those things. Like I have this really close bond with them.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your process when you're making Thought, Flesh, and Bones.
Yeah, so that record was just like a lot of like anxiety, honestly. It was the first time I'd ever done a full length, and I was really, really, like, I had this like unrealistic expectation that like it was just supposed to be the most perfect body of work ever. And I'd sit there and like just like I drove everybody insane, because I'd be like, this "the" is different than this "the." I need to go in there and re-sing this "the." And it's like, you've already sung that "the" like five times. It's like, or like, I would go through these lyrics with like a fine tooth comb, just making sure everything matched up perfectly, which is great, just super great, but it's so unhealthy. So moving forward after that record, I changed the writing process, as I do every record, but I've just become more, I kind of just let it happen now, instead of just like sitting there and just, screaming at a piece of paper, hoping, just making sure it's perfect. So yeah, that was that process. And I'm happy to announce that the new music comes from a much more peaceful Zen zone.
So what got you to that point? Where was it self-reflection, or was it someone beating you over the head saying like, okay, come on, dude, we we don't have
I think it was just like, after we finished the record, I was so tired, and I was just like, I don't know if I can do this again, like, and I think honestly, I love that record. But I wonder if I would have approached it more, I don't want to say relaxed, but more just, if I would have just given it more room to breathe and not been so militant with it, what it would have become. I mean, I'm happy with what that record is. I love that record, love those songs. But I think everybody always wonders that, like, if I would have been if I would have written that record as who I am now, it would have been so different, But yeah, it was a lot of self-reflection.
And you guys produce your own albums, so I mean, do you think part of it may have been also the feeling of, okay, we have more time because we're not pressured by a big studio where they're sucking all the money out of
Right.
everything, right? We can kind of go back in, we can tweak it and make it perfect.
Yeah, it definitely helped, knowing that we produce our own music. I mean, we do keep timelines on ourselves. Otherwise, we would just never release anything. Like
Yeah.
we would literally sit there and just like write something for like 6 years and be like, I think it's done. Um, but it's kind of I totally lost count of what the question was. I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that
Just, I mean,
sometimes.
no, it's good. There's a freedom of, I mean, being with the self-producing of the
Right.
album, right? Like,
Yeah, that definitely makes things, a lot easier. But also, and I think it's just more organic, obviously, because it's in-house. It's literally just the three of us making everything. So there's a lot of responsibility, but there's also a lot of pride in it because it's like, yeah, we made that record. That's awesome.
yeah. And so, tell me about kind of the timeline between that album and kind of going into in the reflection of blood. Like, what what was were you writing on tour? Were you going in prepared? Like, how did you go into
You,
that album?
we really don't write too much on tour. I think eventually when we have a bigger crew and we're not so hands-on with everything, we might be able to have the time to do writing and things like that on tour. Um, but usually what we do is we just write a lot of stuff leading up to tours and in between tours, and then we'll even we'll sit on it and listen to it and kind of maybe make little adjustments here and there, like note wise, and just that way when you hit get back to studio, you just hit the ground running. But yeah, the process is always a little bit different for everything. Sometimes it's just an acoustic guitar and a pad of paper. Other times it's a drum beat, and then it's like, oh, that's cool, and it just all influences each other.
Yeah. And where in the process did you decide to bring in a saxophone player for favorite show? Like, because you kind of
Yeah,
stepped
that
out
was
of your.
like we were listening to a lot of the Midnight, and and they have that really cool '80s sound, and also like I'm a massive Bruce Springsteen fan, and so when I think of the E Street Band, I think of that saxophone, right? And I'm just like, how can we do that? How can we bring that into play? So it was really, really awesome. Uh, geez, I'm terrible with names. I'm not terrible with names. Danny's his name, and he's an incredible saxophonist, and he was able to really just bring that song to just such a. I really feel like he really brought the energy up. It was already a very energetic song, but when you hear that, it's like, oh yeah, this is like '80s realness. It's ripping, and he's like a big jazz guy, so to have him put his chops on there was just like a really cool experience. But yes,
Yeah.
Bruce Springsteen and the Midnight is the shorthanded answer for that question.
How many times have you seen Springsteen live?
Regrettably none.
You haven't seen him live yet? Okay.
No, I missed him last time he came through, and he played at the where did he play? He played at the I think maybe he played the Rose Bowl or the Olympic. Yeah, I think it might have been the Rose Bowl, and I missed it. And it was such a disappointment because I mean the time he'd come through before then, I was like in high school and like had like high school money, so like none.
Yeah. not Springsteen ticket money. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he came through again and I missed him, but I think now that hopefully we're coming towards the end of the pandemic. We're obviously going to see a lot of big tours happen because all the tours that were planned for 2020 were pushed back to 2021, and it's going to be crazy. It's going to be a slingshot.
Yeah.
These venues, hopefully most of them are still open. Every night's probably going to be so busy. I wouldn't be surprised if we're kind of entering into a new roaring 20s. It's going to be. I hope. But yeah, I want to see him so bad.
Yeah. I'm ready for concerts. I haven't actually. No, he's he's one of the few.
It's got to be on the list. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's probably a pretty epic show too, and he'll play for like 3 hours and everything. Like,
yeah, man. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's cool. So you covered "Falling" by Harry Styles. Tell me about that decision.
Well, I mean, our guitar player and producer Karnik, he was a really big One Direction fan, and maybe I think he'd be okay with me saying that. And he was a pretty big fan, and when it comes to that new record by Mr. Styles, there's a lot of really, really cool songs on there. So it would, we were kind of shopping around the idea of doing a few covers to, because we usually don't do them. And I was thinking, it was like, why don't we just, knock out a few of them and kind of just see what happens. And we did that one, and we did Circled by Post Malone. And it was like, it was a lot of fun. So we're just like, yeah, this is great. Let's do it. But there was no like battle plan or anything set into play. We were just recording them, and we we're just like, these actually sound pretty cool. Let's throw them over to Spotify and just kind of see what happens.
Yeah. So tell me about your approach when you cover a song. Like, I mean, when you do a cover, right, you don't want it to be exactly the same as the original artist. You want to make it your own, but you want to pay respect to the original artist, right?
Yeah, it was we kind of almost did it like this. Like for Circles, it's kind of like an upbeat song, and we just stripped it down. And for Falling, it's like a ballad, so we just pumped it up. So we kind of just did the reverse of each song, and that was it. That was almost enough to kind of give it its own taste. And also it was, Karna adds a lot of his unique sounds and things like that. So it was that was kind of our process, was just messing with the tempo, messing with the feeling,
Yeah. What have been the most enjoyable shows for you to play live? Like, what are the most memorable that you've been, or the best locations that you've enjoyed playing at?
I think one of my favorites, and I always mention this one, is the Bluebird Theater in Denver. It's a really cool. It's like a mini theater. It's I think it's probably only about 500 cap, maybe 600, but it's got like a balcony and everything, and it really feels like a little theater. So it's really, really fun to play that room. And Denver is and Colorado in general is a really fun state to play. People, they really, really love their live music there. So it's always a really good crowd, and it's always a good show whenever we play that area. But yeah, the Bluebird in Denver was one of my favorites.
Okay, that's very cool. And so you, with this album, you took the approach of releasing a song every month. Now you're actually releasing a live video every month. Tell me kind of about first of all, going back in and like recording the live videos, but also kind of the approach to really just keeping that content, driving for your audience.
Well, usually, like we, for each one of these songs, we planned really big videos, but all the production shut down because of COVID. So we had to kind of rethink things, and we were able to come up with some like for each song kind of almost had its own little mini music video that was kind of toned back. We worked with some really cool artists, and some of them illustrated videos and things like that. Anything we could do to kind of move the visual needle. But for us, usually, last year we released a live record at the end of the year where we basically took the soundboard mixes from different cities from worldwide, and we had a cool live record. It was fun. We wanted to do that this year with the new music, but we obviously aren't playing live. So we thought, well, why don't we just jump in a room and just try and capture that feeling. And it was cool because it was the first time we played any of these songs really like live, because we haven't played them live yet, like in a live setting. So it was a pretty obvious decision, just like, what, we can't play on a stage, so let's at least just play. So we recorded a live video for each song, and those will be kind of streamlined out in the next couple months too.
Yeah. Have you always felt comfortable performing in front of an audience?
Yeah, I think I have. Obviously there's always nerves and things like that, but it's never been debilitating or anything like that. Like I've never, like had like stage fright or anything like that. I've been very lucky. But I think back to like my first performance, and God, I was so nervous. And like the things you think are like I remember, like, I just think back to how much I didn't know when I first started performing, like, can't have soda the day of the performance because I heard somebody told me that the carbonation would mess with your throat. And it's just like, that's total malarkey. That's not how it works at all. As I've gotten older and learned about, the voice and the anatomy, it's different. But it's funny when you think about it, or like, what I used to think was like acceptable to wear on stage, it's like, what was I used to have like these like these like red striped pants, you know. It's like, why did I wear those? Oh my God.
Yeah, you know, and they were so cool at the time, right?
Oh, they were awesome, man. You know, brighter and badder. Like that was all, you know, that was that whole era. And like I grew up loving like all those 80s hair metal bands. So like I was shameless. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, I've always felt comfortable on stage, but there's definitely always those moments of pre-show jitters. I even get that now. But even going back to Bruce Springsteen, you know, he talks about how when he gets those butterflies in his stomach, that's good to him. Those are the nerve that, you know, it's excitement. Whereas other people, when they get those, they lock up, they get scared, you know, and it's understandable. It's a scary thing. You know, if I were to think about what I'm doing when I'm up there, I would fall. There's no way, you know, you just got to like go into automatic mode and just do it, you know?
Yeah. Do you go back to like where you're at when you wrote the songs, like at any point, or I mean, where do you go to be able to release that energy?
You know, sometimes, you know, I've had those moments where like I've had a tear come down because I just feel like so, you know, in that moment. But other
can you give me 1
times,
second? Can you
sure.
give me just 1 second, Killian? Sorry, 1 second.
Now, do you got power here?
No.
Okay, because power got off there too.
Yeah, I just got a text PG&E, power got shut off, I guess. So.
Oh, they shut off. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
No problem. Okay, man, I'm gonna have to cut this out.
You're all good, dude.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, it's you know, for me, you know, sometimes I go like when we're performing on stage, I'll go back to the moment that the actual, you know, song is written, or what I was feeling or what I was thinking about. And that's what's great about, you know, songwriting is they're little time capsules. You know, I can listen to a song and remember exactly where I was and who I was when I wrote it. So yeah, when you see any band live, I think that what you're really witnessing, right, is just like is almost this strange like metamorphosis happening from, you know, from the songs changing to other, you know, it's a weird thing. It's a really weird thing. It's hard to even put words to it. It's a strange experience, you know?
Yeah. And so who, as you're kind of growing up, who did you try to emulate when you're on stage? Like what bands were you like?
Yeah, okay, so growing up, I mean, some of my, you know, the guys where I was like, I want to be like that guy, were like, you know, Jim Morrison, things like that. So you know, in the early days, I performed a lot with my eyes closed, and I was really just moody. I was very moody, you know. And then, you know, it changes as time goes on, you know. And then you know, I'm a really big Elvis fan too, and he's like the complete opposite of Jim Morrison, you know. So if I could pick anything, I'd love to be in the middle of both of them. We're super moody, but like also just ridiculously cool.
Yeah.
But you know, but when I was really young, I mean, Axl Rose was my guy, you know, like, but like to match that energy for 45 minutes, let alone an hour, it's just really hard. I don't have the cardio for it.
No, that takes a special type of person that
yeah
can really make that happen night over night, right?
That's tough. Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned Elvis. You have Disco Elvis. Tell me a little bit about that, because it's pretty out there.
Yeah, Disco Elvis was when we were recording in the studio. This happens a lot. You know, I didn't have any lyrics, but I kind of make it up on the fly and then go back and tailor it back and make a story around like a certain word or a certain anchor phrase. And that one really just stuck, like "Love Me Like I'm Disco Elvis." And I was like, oh, that's something. And I kind of wrote the song to be about somebody, you know, an Elvis impersonator leaving his like one horse town to go find fame somewhere else. And that's kind of what that song is about. And it's, yeah, the music video was we actually had a massive music video planned for that one, where I was going to play an Elvis impersonator like I did, but I was going to be doing all these different things. And I won't tell you what they are because I think we'll probably do it later. And I don't want somebody
you're gonna
coming
still
by
hold on to it, huh?
taking the idea. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to even just get the jumpsuit and do the whole thing. And it was awesome. It was a really fun experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it really looks like you put your all into your craft and really have a lot of fun with it. So that's good.
Thanks.
Yeah. So one last thing I noticed, all three members of your band have the initials KM. So
Yeah,
by
I thought
design?
that
No.
that's so weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's so strange too. I noticed that like first week we all started hanging out, and it is kind of interesting. Me and Karnik have KM, and then Mike is MK. Which it's I mean, it's meant to be, I guess, it's
It's
one
meant
of
to
those
be.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what are you looking forward to most as we go into 2021? What's the light at the end of the tunnel for you?
Well, hopefully, I mean, we can get back to playing, and bands can get back to being, live bands again and doing that. Because I think I'd probably speak for all live bands when it's like, oh man, I don't know how many more of these live streams I can do,
Yeah.
No, I enjoy doing them though, but it will be nice to get back on stage and perform in front of, people again. And it'll just be nice to be in the same room with people again and not kind of feel like a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, when I go grocery shopping now, I'm just like, what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just, it's a weird time, but I'm looking forward to the connection most like that's the thing I want the most. It's just that connection, that feeling of oneness when we play a live show or just being at a live show. And I think a lot of people are really missing that in their lives right now, that release, so I think when that starts happening again, oh, that'll be a step in the right direction.
Yeah. I miss it. This is the longest I've ever gone without going to a concert. And
right. Even in high school, I found
Yeah.
ways to go see the local metal show or something. You know what I mean? That was like, yeah, it's weird. It's really weird. Oh, I think you cut out again, brother.
Do you find yourself playing the guitar like to practice? Just like, can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Do you find yourself twiddling a lot on the guitar because you have more time, like just really focusing on your craft?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely find myself playing a lot more because like I'm trying to write a lot more, and that's been cool because I've actually learned a lot of chords that I'm like, I didn't know I knew this chord. So that's been fun to add that to my vocabulary. But yeah, it's just it's weird when you have, because I do teach voice too, so that's been nice to keep me in shape vocally, because I know that was like, that's my biggest fear. It's just kind of like not being able to maintain all the momentum that we've kind of generated throughout the past 2 years. And that even goes to just vocally, I want to make sure that everything is staying nice and tight. So yeah, the extra time's been nice though. It's been good.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, I'm glad you've been able to have some quality downtime, and
it's been productive. Yeah.
Continue to be productive. Exactly. It's a weird, crazy time, but you're making the most of it. And yeah, and I love the new album as well. So
thanks, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, keep up the good work. And yeah, Killian, thank you for taking the time today. I appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Well, let's do this again soon. I'd love to. It's fun talking with you, man. You have a good one. Enjoy your holidays, and make sure you watch Muppet Christmas. It's worth a watch. It's worth a watch.
Yeah, so we'll put it on the list. The kids will be back for Christmas Eve, so I'll sit them down.
Okay, there you go.
So.
Yeah, Muppet Christmas. Why not? All right, man. You take care. It was nice talking with you.
That was the interview with Charming Liars here on Concert Pipeline. And Jens, this is normally the point of the program where I would ask you about our final segment, but if things have slowed down, we don't have a ton of music news. So instead, I want to kind of wind out with kind of reflecting on some of the moments of 2020 that have happened since we came to this point in March, and COVID and everything along those lines.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing to do, because the way the year turned out certainly wasn't the way we thought it would turn out, last January.
Yeah.
And especially, when we started hearing about this weird virus thing, and they wouldn't let cruise ships dock, and it ended up being this crazy disaster. And I feel like the year has lasted a lot longer than 12 months, right? I mean, it seems like we can fit at least a year and a half or 2 years this year with all the stuff that's happened. And one of the things that we thought about was, oh my God, the concert venues, there aren't going to be any concerts. And what's going to happen to the pod? And, oh my God, what's going to happen to our, like, all the exciting times that we have at concerts and stuff, and our venue is going to get shut down, and businesses, and like, so there's definitely going to be some good stuff to reflect on.
Yeah.
So I would say let's get started.
Yeah. So this is episode 289 of Concert Pipeline. So we're hitting the quarter, coming up on 300, which should happen in the next couple months. But when all this started, the last in-person interview that I did was with a band called Echo Smith at the Regency Ballroom in San Francisco. And things were just at that point where it was kind of weird. Shows weren't canceled or anything. It was okay. It was this thing you heard of, but and I think it came up in the interview probably at some point, but with no idea of what would become, right?
Yeah.
And so I did that interview, it went fine and everything. And then the next one, I ended up, it was an artist named Blanks, where I ended up doing that just as a phone interview. Zoom wasn't really a thing yet. And he was playing at Slim's, and afterwards I kind of kicked myself a little bit because for not pushing to do it in person at the venue, because of what we now know happened to Slim's just even a couple weeks later, right? Like less than a month after COVID started.
Yeah.
And it could have gone there one more time, and and it's just that,
had you only known. We've had several of those experiences over the years doing Concert Pipeline, like one of them being, why didn't we go to that Prince concert when he was in Oakland? Because he passed away, shortly after that. It's like, if you have the opportunity, just do it. Don't assume that there's going to be another chance.
Yeah, exactly. And I think getting back into it, once it's safe and everything, obviously I've gone to a large number of concerts, but I'll probably be going to more once it's safe to go to do so. Just, I mean, I don't know if I can even go to more, but I'll go to bigger ones, with artists that I probably would have cheaped out on, and beforehand, and because just for that love of live music, right? And so the first Zoom interview that I did was with the band called the Burrito Brothers, and I think that was a Zoom one. Now I'm trying to remember, but if that was Zoom or over the phone.
Did you FaceTime? Did you start like doing FaceTime stuff and audio recording, or?
It could have been. Maybe Mark McMillan from Hawthorne Heights and the Story Changes might have been the first actual Zoom one that was recorded, because that was around the time we got started with Zoom. And I think your last interview was with Sean Galvin, our coworker who ran the Cactus Club, right? And we talked to him about all the stories.
I feel like that wasn't even this year. I feel like that
it doesn't feel like it, right?
Year. Yeah, I feel that was like for a long time ago.
Actually, no, you did do one other one, because the next one was Jared Dickinson, where he played a song for us. But I think we were having some trouble connecting the Zoom or something. I don't know, but he did play a song for us, and I think that was your last one. So
yeah, it could be.
Anyway, what other highlights do we have? We had Shirley King, which was, that was an interesting one, because that was BB King's daughter. Getting to talk to her, and then Joe Louis Walker again. We had him on the program again.
And the boots.
You loved his alligator skin.
I'll never
boots,
forget
right?
those things, man.
Yeah,
those are hot.
Yeah. Alien Ant Farm was a lot of fun. Getting to talk to them. This is a platform that I've used reluctantly and sparingly. There were times I turned down virtual interviews, in the past, because I just no, I wanted it to be in person, right? And obviously times have changed, and that's not really a thing.
Right. I know. In the first half of the year, we were also kind of thinking that, all right, there's this wave, and everybody just needs to be disciplined and get the stuff under control, and the rest of the year is just going to be normal again. But that never happened. So I think I don't know if I necessarily was maybe in denial for a little bit, but I thought at that point that we would get back to at least a few live concerts and live interviews and stuff towards the end of the year. But no.
Oh yeah, I don't think anyone was predicting that this would still be happening now, and then foreshadowing that there's no end in sight right now. I mean, until it's truly safe, right?
Yeah. And we had some really interesting things happen in music news too. Like, some bands just came out and started doing really kind of innovative things, with the technology that we have, especially through the Zoom platform. I'm thinking at the moment specifically about like the Rolling Stones. You remember they got together?
Yeah.
The four
virtually.
squares.
Yeah, virtually.
And we had the drummer dude.
You're the big fan of the drummer? Yeah.
It was just like banging on pots and pans or garbage cans or whatever you had. I don't remember. But it was hilarious, right? And they put it together and it was all synced and it was awesome. Of course, it wasn't like a real concert, but it was just so uplifting, that people were trying, to bring fans together and share an experience and stuff. So
yeah, it was just such a unique time period in the time immediately after COVID hit for media of all sources, like even like late night talk shows and the news and everything going to Zoom and distanced and all of that. I mean, Zoom is just such a common platform, and even still is for for a lot of interviews to get done, because I mean the quality is so on point, right? I mean, it's just it's consistent, and sources are able to use it, right? So it's really easy. So
it's not too hard, and it seems pretty dang reliable.
Yeah.
So thank goodness for technology. I mean, that's one of the things that really helped us along here this year.
Yeah. Then there was the Tenacious D fiasco.
That wonderful 30 seconds you had.
Dude, it was like a minute, okay, or 50 seconds or something. It was less than a minute for sure, but they did a promo for the podcast, and
they did.
And I ruined
at the expense of your kids hating you.
Absolutely, they were not happy after that one, either of them. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, I definitely screwed this up,
You know what? I mean, you had your goal was twofold, more or less, right? You wanted to get the promo, and you wanted to just introduce your kids and have them say hi and stuff,
get
right?
them to come on and wave, say hi to Jack.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And that's it. You would think that, okay, those two things just take a couple seconds, right? But I remember with that chat that you guys had, that they were making jokes or something. They were like farting jokes, I don't know.
Yeah, because
something juvenile. It was funny, but it took like half your time away.
Yeah, Kyle Gass's chair squeaked, and and then Jack Black joked about it being like a fart. I'm like, okay, great, that's fine. Okay. Now, not to the promo. I got the promo. I did not get the kids to wave, who were right over, and I just, in the moment, you have the timer on the screen and it's countdown, and you have this one shot, and I
getting anxious. Yeah.
And I made the wrong call on that one for sure. So.
Well, you didn't know, shit happens, but your intent was there, and the kids knew that.
Yeah. I'll tell you a really fun interview was the immediate family. That was the group of like all these studio. I mean, there's 5 different studio musicians who have been friends for like 50 years and work with everybody in the business, really, in some capacity or another. And that was the first time I tried navigating interviewing 5 people all at once in Zoom, in a Zoom platform. I didn't know how that would go. And it worked out actually really well. It was great to talk to them and hear so many stories from their storied careers. So
cool.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Sean Harris was from the Matches was a really fun one for me, Jens, and that was a band that I grew up on, and he was so generous to be able to and take time and do an interview and just go down memory lane and everything.
Yeah.
And then at the end to play my favorite of their songs, which was just like, in this time where there's no concerts, getting to have a musician that you really respect do so I mean, do something like that. We've had some artists play some acoustic songs and everything through Zoom and
Yeah.
you know, through this, but I mean, it was just like I was fanboying for sure. So
Yeah, that's hilarious. And you know what? I mean, you know, given everything that's happened, it's probably a good year for that kind of thing because, you know, the artists are screwed like so many of us are. You know, they can't go on tours. They, you know, might be at home twiddling their thumbs trying to, you know, figure out how to tour virtually, or maybe, you know, figure out how to write more songs or something. So you just think that there's more time available, you know, for them to do these kind of special projects like what you experienced. So that must have been a you know, fun for the artist too.
yeah,
You know, being interviewed by a longtime fan.
yeah, I'm sure. I mean, he seemed like he was having a good time. So no complaints. Got to interview Martin Barr of Jethro Tull again,
Oh yeah.
which is cool. Someone commented on the YouTube video for it saying that the interviewer sucked.
Oh
and
no.
which brought me a good amount of joy. You know, so but you know, I know it's not true. I know I'm actually a pretty good interviewer. I've done a fucking lot of these, you
Just
know.
a
So
hater. Just
yeah,
a hater. Yeah, gotta brush that shit off.
yeah. But he twiddled on the guitar a little
Or a
bit for me, which is
troll or whatever. Yeah, that's cool.
which is fun also.
Yeah, nice.
Um, and then the Lumineers. We had Jeremiah Freites from the Lumineers, which was also, I mean, one that, you know, was way out of my league to get, but I was so excited to get to talk to him and spend a good amount of time, you know, talking to him about his solo work and you know, and of course the Lumineers as well. That was really cool.
Nice. That's cool.
Yes. Less Than Jake, a band that you know, again, one that I've, you know, I'm not a super fan of them. I like them. They're a great live band, but I really liked one of their albums. You know, I was really into it around 2006 when it came out, and In With the Out Crowd. But so that was fun as well. And then I mean, those are some of the highlights really. I mean, we had a bunch of artists on. We've been able to do this consistently from March to now. We've had, you know, 33 shows, so we haven't slowed down, man.
Good. Just when we thought we were, you know, not going to have a whole lot of content to deal with, that, you know, we got surprised. So I can't say that everything in 2020 was horrible. You know, there were some good things, but I'm just, you know, hoping that things will improve in the music industry next year, and just, you know, for everyone in general. You know, I'm thinking about all the concerts that we wanted to go to that we didn't go to, you know, because they either never happened or they got canceled or whatever. You know, Flogging Molly, we used to go see them every year. When's the last time we saw them?
You're not going to turn down seeing them if they come back around and we're able to,
no,
you know, safely
I don't
do
care
it,
what
right?
I'm doing that day.
A mosh pit though makes me feel like weird right now, right? Like,
yeah, right.
Like, you know, I can't have you losing your glasses or your pants or anything in the mosh pit, and when everybody's sweating on top of each other. It just doesn't feel natural. And so I don't even know if next year we'll get back to that sort of show.
Right. Yeah.
But I hope we do. I hope it, you know, things normalize
somehow. Yeah. Even if it's like, I don't know, man. It might be years.
Well, you know, we all we can do is hope, be safe, and take care of those around us, you know. So
exactly.
Well, Jens, that's our show, man.
Awesome. I know. So we've got I guess we're gonna, you know, wind out, just putting out a lot of hope out there, a lot of optimism, that things will improve, and hopefully that whatever the new normal is going to be freaking kick ass, because I can't wait.
Yeah. Looking forward to seeing what's around that corner for sure. So
exactly.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We'll probably be taking a couple of weeks off for the holiday. Don't have anything lined up right now, but we'll be back in January and with more content and more fun. And I want to thank you for a fun year, being an awesome co-host as well, Jens. So
Steve, thank you. Yeah, and we're gonna have episode 300 and 290.
Yep. So we have 11 more episodes.
One, right?
290. Yep, 290s. Yep.
So, assuming there's no alien invasion or a meteor or COVID-20 that'll wipe us all out in the next couple of days, we're going to see you guys in January again.
Yes. Positive thoughts. Well,
right.
All right. Well, for all of us here at Concert Pipeline, that is Jens Schippel.
And that is Steve Jones.
We'll see you in 2021. Be safe, everybody.
Be safe.